Hey, welcome to Sports Unfolded, Patriots postgame show. I am your host, Eric, my main man over there. Ron, how are you?
Not to be confused with this guy down over here.
Yeah, that snowman. We're feeling a little festive. We said let's throw up some little holiday graphics. Today
Got some
is
snowflakes up there.
yeah, today is Christmas. So happy holidays, Merry Christmas to all that are out there.
Absolutely. Happy holidays, everybody.
So obviously the Patriots post game comes a day after. So they Patriots played yesterday, lost 22-18 to the Cincinnati Bengals, now falling to 7-8 on the season. Before we get into the numbers, Ron, ultimately your thoughts on the game, why the Patriots lost, and can they even recover anymore in the season? I mean, it's the players are slim home at a hope at this point, but what do you think about the overall performance yesterday?
I think the overall performance was grim, to say the least. I think, look, I just think that this team has not been prepared almost all year long.
Yeah, it's odd, right? When we talk about mental preparation, one of the things that New England was, symbolic of for years, and yet you're seeing now a change where they're making mistakes that other teams used to make against them. So I so it's
Wow.
just it's mind numbing to me that they continue. When I thought last week the way they lost to the Raiders, you couldn't
Yes.
lose another game as bad, and yet we see the fumble at the end of the game when they're clearly going to score. They had all the momentum in their favor. And in the old days, it's all about preparation, making sure two hands on the ball, don't lose the football. All those little key plays and things that they did well, they don't
Yeah.
seem to be doing this season.
No, and that is very apparent from what we have seen this year. And I know last season we talked about, Bill Belichick a lot and when it's time. That time is now. It is now. Like this is clear to me more than ever that just the players are not responding right now. And it's almost like they're floating along in limbo kind of thing.
Yeah.
I can't quite put my finger on exactly what it is. And I mean, we talk about the offensive, uh,
Ineptitude.
and yeah, that's a great word for it right there. We talked about that over and over every week. And, nobody is really sitting back and taking a look at what is the real problem with this offense. And, when it really comes down to it, that is uh, that is basically the reason why they have failed this year. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. So, the funny thing is, as I'm watching the game, I'm seeing Bill Belichick, and he's having these little hissy fits with the officials. And the funny part of it is that I almost feel like he's just that cranky old man who's, just upset about everything that's going on in the world today.
yeah,
It's not like he's coaching anymore. We used to see him on the sidelines, with the defensive line huddled up, and he's going over some stuff, or the linebackers, or the secondary. Even with the offense at times, you're not seeing that. You're just seeing him pace up and down the sideline, really not looking like he's coaching. It's almost like he's given up the coaching reins to whoever wants to do it. I don't know if that's Matt Patricia, Joe Judge. I've seen a lot of guys just doing a lot of different things. It's ultimately hurting this team in their preparation. It's they're making mistakes on the field now that he was coaching them on before.
well, it's that Patriot philosophy, right? Where you put in players to, you know, in positions where they're not used to being, but designed to make them succeed. The same thing can't be said about a coaching staff that he's doing the same thing with now. And that just doesn't work with a coaching staff. You can't function as an organization with just plug and play coaches. It doesn't work that way. But what can work on an NFL field, it doesn't work on the sidelines.
Yeah.
That is a big problem with this team this year. It's not functioning properly because of the coaching staff isn't doing the necessary things to bring these players along.
And I would say this: look, at some point, you need to put the best players on the field that possibly can help you win.
Right.
And back in the day, that's the one thing that you would hear, coming out of Foxborough. We put the players on the field that we feel give us the best opportunity to win. So even when he benched somebody or cut somebody, traded, you go, what is he doing? And it all worked out. This season, you're not seeing that. You're seeing a Kendrick Bourne who performed very well yesterday in a doghouse for some reason, who obviously could have some impact on this offense. At some point, they need to understand that it's not the same team as it was 10, 15 years ago, where you could get away with some of these things. And there was a player that could obviously mask some of those, deficiencies. You don't have that. You need the best possible players on the field. Stop continuing to use that same philosophy that it worked 10 years ago, isn't working today. And the players, if you think about this, Ron, we never heard things coming up from players. And you're hearing that a lot more now. You're hearing players starting to question the coaching staff and stuff. The Patriot way was you kept your mouth quiet, you just went about your business, and you let things fall into place. That's not happening this season.
Yeah, and taking that one step further, how many times have you seen players yelling at coaches on the sideline in New England? That very rarely happens, and we've seen that this year. And the biggest one being Mac Jones. He's getting increasingly frustrated with this, and I fear that when that contract is up, I fear that the Patriots are going to be looking for another quarterback. But will they even have a new head coach by then? That's the question.
I think there's going to be some household changes next season. I think the last 2 weeks has clearly proven that what you're trying to do for the last couple of years isn't working.
No.
And I think Bob Kraft's probably at a point now where he says, Bill, we've got to do something, or you've got to decide if you want to move on. And it's hard to believe we're at that point only 3 years after Tom Brady, but it's getting to that point.
Right.
And I was thinking about just in this Bengals game alone, you look at the coaching staff and very young coach. You saw what Sean McVay was able to do with the Rams, very young coach. Like the systems have changed. Things are different. Mike McDaniel in Miami, in the differences that they can do offensively. This is an offensive league now. It's not a defensive league. The defense is always at a disadvantage. You need to put offensive-minded people on your staff that are going to be able to change the way teams look at you and prepare for you. Because right now, everybody just plays their basic defense against New England because they're not fearing anything that you're doing offensively.
Right. Well, I mean, to a point, I think when it comes to playoff time, defense is still the most important thing. I mean, we've seen that through the years. Defense wins playoff games. Offense wins regular season games.
Yeah, and I'm not saying to your point, like Bill Belichick doesn't. He's still going to have that defensive mindset, but you need to get an offensive-minded coach.
Right.
Your offense right now is being coached. Yeah, your offense is being coached by a defensive guy. But go ahead.
Yeah, you have to have that offensive guru as a coordinator. You have to have that in place so that way you're throwing something at the defenses that, a defensive coach really doesn't see. Like you're asking Matt Patricia to do something that, one, he's never done before, run an offense, and two, see something that offensive minded coaches can see that he's never going to see because he can plan for offenses that he has seen. So he's not going to create anything new for the other teams to see. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
like, he can react to something and change the plays during the game as a defensive coordinator. And there was not many people better. There was not. And that is great for a defensive coordinator because you have to react to what the offense is doing and what the offense can do, and stop that. But there's no creativity with Matt Patricia on offense because he doesn't know how to work an offense.
Yeah. No,
He doesn't vision and visualize certain things taking place. So he can only he's a reactionary coach.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about that Bengals game. Let's go over some numbers. Time of possession 37-23 in favor of the Bengals, 28-15 on first downs, 285 yards for New England, 442 for Cincinnati, 369 yards of passing offense for the Bengals, 224 for New England, 61 yards rushing for New England, 73 for the Bengals. 10 penalties by New England, 8 by the Bengals. You saw 3 turnovers from Cincinnati, which actually kept New England in this game. The one big turnover by New England, the fumble that ended up costing them an opportunity to win the game. So when we look at just those numbers alone, Ron, what stood out to you the most?
Cincinnati, for one, dominated every aspect of the game except for the turnovers.
Yeah.
And the Patriots really didn't take advantage of that. Usually in a game where you win the turnover battle, you win the game because that's going to give you
more opportunities. Yeah.
More opportunities and just an advantage throughout the game on all of those categories. But even with that, they still couldn't dominate any category, not one. No. And that's what stands out to me.
Yeah. 6 for 13 on third downs. This team all season long has not been able to figure out the third down. Third down efficiency, every time they're in 3rd and 6, I just sit back and go, okay, it's a punt. It's an automatic punt. The one thing I noticed, they tried to take some shots down the field. The odd part of it is sometimes the choice and the timing of it was a little bit mind-boggling to me as well. They're down, inside. I think it was inside the 10.
Yeah.
And they're like, the announcer's going, oh, well, he was trying to take a shot deep. Why are you trying to take a shot deep there? That's where you dink and dunk and just get out of position so you're not, your back's not to the end zone. And yet you saw the play break down. Mac barely got out without, a safety happening. And yet it's like that's where you decided to go for a pass play that your offensive line has not been effective all season long. Why would you be going deep there?
Yeah, no, and again, we go back to that offensive coordinator kind of thing. So it's situational there, right? And what I'd say 80% of the situational plays are wrong.
Yeah.
And now, back in the day when they did make those mistakes as well, calling the wrong plays. When Tom Brady is at that line, he can change the play to the right play. And that is the difference.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, how many times did Brady change the play, when he was playing for the Patriots? Quite a lot. And this just goes to show you, that points out that Brady was the more important piece.
You still love that, huh? You love it. You want to bring that up every time.
No, well,
and I'm not saying you're incorrect in that, but I also feel.
But you were right during that episode because you said that Brady was the more important piece, and I felt it was Belichick. But as we're looking now, I'm clearly seeing that Brady changing the plays more often than what we're seeing from Mac Jones, because Mac Jones feels like he isn't ready to take on that part of it. So he's just going by the trust,
Yeah. Yeah, he's a second-year quarterback who's learning how to play in the NFL. You're being coached by a guy who doesn't know how to run an offense now, and the expectation is how is he going to be mentally prepared each week to perform when you don't even know what your coaching staff's doing.
Yeah, and it's like I look at this, and that is the thing that hesitates me with Mac Jones, because you know what? A quarterback that has got confidence is going to change that play. He's going to make the changes, and he'll live and die with it, right? And he's not doing that. So he's not making the changes. He's got to be able to see some of the things that are there.
Yeah,
When somebody's coming in on you, you got to see that, and you
yeah.
got to make the changes.
I'm glad you said that because I saw the safety blitz at least 3 or 4 times, and he didn't see it. He never spotted that blitz. He never shifted the
Yeah,
line to slide to that side for protection or move the running back over and say, "Look, this guy's come." He just
yeah.
doesn't see some of those blitzes. He doesn't.
Well, that's the thing, Eric. Is he not seeing it, or is he too scared to change the play? It's
Might be a
one or the other.
yeah, might be a comment.
And I fear that it's the second.
Yeah, no, look, I think his confidence is shaken without a doubt. You see, he's got no pocket presence right now. He's just trying not to make a mistake. He
Yeah,
feels like everything he's doing at this point is being scrutinized, and it doesn't help that the New England fans that are at the stadium are booing them, and
yeah,
they consistently boo him. And I'm sure that once that changed with Zappy during that injury, and Zappy had a little bit of success, and I still to this point will say I feel Mac Jones is a better quarterback from head to toe than Zappy.
yes,
But the fans again want that quick resolution to say,
right.
"Oh wow, we got to win, we got to win." So put Zappy in. Zappy didn't look good in that Chicago game, but everybody seems to forget that because Max started that game, played one series.
Yeah,
He played one series, and yet all they focused on was, well, Zappy won 2 games. Zappy also lost that Chicago game.
yeah,
He's an average quarterback. Okay, he got lucky a couple times, and it's a great story for New England. He is not Tom Brady, and I've
no,
heard that comparison as well.
no,
Oh well,
yeah,
this is the same scenario that Tom Brady, Drew Bledsoe. No, it is not. It's not even close. You've got 2 college quarterbacks right now trying to figure out who's going to be an NFL quarterback at some point,
yeah,
and Mac Jones clearly has an advantage.
yeah. Look, I think Mac Jones can be, you know, very good quarterback in this
Yeah,
league,
I
above
agree.
average. Because when you take that first season and the confidence that was built, in him, he's certainly a different quarterback than what you're seeing this year. And, a lot of that has to do with the play calling. A lot of that has to do with trying to figure out this team's chemistry
Yeah,
or lack thereof on the offense.
agreed.
The offensive line, just everything from top to bottom is so different about this offense than it was last year. And it might be the same system, but it is certainly turning out to be different. They have lost some games that they should have won, and they've won some games that they should have lost. And most of those games that were won that they should have lost was because of the defense.
Yeah, and I would say this, Ron. These last 2 games, they should have won.
Yeah,
They should have won both of these games, and it
yeah.
was the mental mistakes. So let's talk about Mac Jones and his numbers: 21 of 33, 240 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Your overall grade on his performance against the Bengals?
A C, a C. I like the fact that he put them in the game. But again, we're seeing too many mistakes to go along with that. And it didn't cost him with an interception. Did not cost him there. Could have, but it didn't. But those mistakes are there. And a team that has an all star caliber defense like Buffalo, you try to get away with those things against Buffalo. And, well, we're about to see what's going to happen.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you this question. I'm going to agree with you, C. But for all those critics of Mac Jones in his play, would you say Joe Burrow's a very good quarterback at this point?
Yes, even though he
S-
threw a couple
Switch
away.
switch the roles. Put
Right.
Mac Jones
With those two receivers.
with those receivers.
Actually, 3 receivers.
Right? What a difference it would make. He doesn't have a
Oh, I
Jamar
know.
Chase, a T. Higgins.
No, he does not.
Like he doesn't have that offensive line that Joe Burrow has. And Joe Burrow, I don't think would be the same quality quarterback here in New England because again, you're throwing to a Kendrick Bourne, a Jacoby Myers. They're all good players. They're not these great super. And you saw that Mac put up plays that Tyquan Thornton. That was a perfectly thrown ball.
Right.
People could say that's where you want to put the ball, and it's dropped. You saw again. I think it was Kendrick Bourne at one point trying to do like a one-handed catch. Like he's trying. Like they're all trying. They're not that quality receiver. Right. They're not the Jamar Chases, the Justin Jeffersons, the Tyreek Hills.
And again, this is what I'm saying. It's like we're not seeing that same confidence this year with Mac Jones, but a lot of that is because of the players around him.
Yeah.
And this is why we can't get a good feel for how Mac Jones is because of that fact. He's got everything against him. And that's why I say when his contract is up, does he just walk?
If it continues to go the way it's going, I would say why not? He saw what they did to Tom Brady. How many times did they get rid of guys on Tom Brady that Tom Brady liked, respected, wanted?
Right.
Because, again, that's Bill Belichick and his philosophy. And I'm going to just do what I'm going to try to find that guy off the scrap heap that nobody wanted, and I'm going to make him a better player. It doesn't always work anymore.
Yeah, and then he lets him walk because he only signs him for 1 year.
Yeah, he doesn't want to pay the contract. So, Ramondre Stevenson, 13 carries, 30 yards. 2.3 yards an average, no touchdowns, had the big fumble. Since that injury a couple weeks ago, has not been the same running back.
No.
So I still think there's a lingering injury there because he was limping in this game as well.
Yeah, no, and he needs to just sit. But Bill Belichick doesn't want to pay more players to play running back, so I feel like I'm piling on Belichick.
Just a little.
And
you?
Rightfully so.
Did your Christmas card come, though, today from Belichick?
No. So see? he knew ahead of time.
He knew you were going to, yeah.
Yeah, I only had like 2 cards. So, Mac Jones didn't send me a card.
Mac neither. No.
But the other Joneses.
Nah, they're still in play. Still in play. So, let's look at some of the receivers. Kendrick Bourne, 6 receptions, 100 yards, 16.7 yards per reception, 1 touchdown. And Jacoby Myers also had 6 receptions, 83 yards, 13.8 yards per reception, 1 touchdown. The Myers one was a little more interesting because, again, it was like that kind of tip ball, and he was in the right place at the right time. That Kendrick Bourne, again, his touchdown in some of the plays he made on the sideline, a couple of toe taps. I don't understand why this guy's not playing well. I'm still baffled at this point.
Yeah, well,
I just don't get it. When he does play and they throw the ball to him, he's been productive. Yes. And yet you won't see him in the game. You won't see him in the games. I don't get it.
It's not hard to understand that if something about you if something about you rubs the head coach the wrong way there, I don't care who you are. You're not playing.
And I got a question. I mean, I truly believe the stories that came out of Foxborough about Bourne questioning Patricia, the offense, is the reason why he's not playing. And yet you could see it's not because he doesn't understand the plays or he's not running the plays, because he's running the plays well. Like he also had like a 29-yard rushing attempt. They did that jet sweep. These are all plays they used to use.
Look, Eric, when it comes down to it, there's a guy, Peyton, and not the Manning, the head coach.
There we go with the Belichick again.
He's already has his staff in play. He's already got his staff built. Now it's just a question of what team he's going to be coaching. That's the coach that they should go after.
Yeah, there was a story out today that he's ready to come back in to the league.
Yeah,
It's going to happen next season. Where is the question? Defensively, Marcus Jones, 12 tackles, that big interception for a touchdown. Matt Judon, 5 tackles and a sack. Josh Uche with a sack as well. Your overall thoughts on the defense and some of the players that did produce?
Okay, so let's just take Marcus Jones, for instance. What position does he play, Eric?
I don't know anymore because he plays everywhere. He's offense, defense, special teams right now. We're basically going to destroy this kid.
But as a defensive player, what position does he play?
He's a cornerback.
Right. And we've always said when your cornerbacks have 12 tackles.
Yeah, that your defense, your front seven isn't doing their job.
Exactly. So he had 12 tackles, an interception, and he also had a 5-yard reception along with, some special team stuff. There should be no reason ever your cornerback gets 12 tackles.
Yeah. But again, how much was Cincinnati throwing the ball? How wide open were these guys? The first half, and I say tale of two tapes, because the first half, New England wasn't in this game at all. At all. The third quarter, what ended up changing or sparking was the Marcus Jones interception for the touchdown, because the offense still didn't look very good at that point. I think that was like 9 minutes into the third quarter. They need to score on defense to win games.
Yeah.
Or a special teams play, because offensively, again, 2 touchdowns. You're not getting production from the offensive side of the ball. And Matt Judon creates that fumble at the end of the game there, and you're saying, okay, this is what New England needed. This is finally what we were expecting from a New England team. A key turnover late in the game. The offense was making plays, and you're like, okay, it's a foregone conclusion. They are scoring here. Mental mistake.
Yeah.
And it's continuing to happen. And think about this, because we're moving on to special teams. If Nick Folk had made those potential point after attempts, they could kick a field goal in that position. They're not even worried about doing anything else and just win the game.
Yeah.
But because they're down by 4 points, because they missed those 2 extra points, I mean, it's just, this is...
Yeah, and, and some fault obviously falls on the shoulders of Nick Folk, who has been basically the rock in the past couple of years.
He's been your best player.
And, and when he has a bad game, it's not getting picked up by anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, how many even McPherson for Cincinnati missed, I think, 3 of them. Like, that was just, they're not a very good kicking game at all. And then Mike Pilardi.
And you can't blame the weather. Yeah, like, you really can't blame weather.
He had that muff where he dropped the ball and then he got, laid out. I think he kicked a 20-yarder. This is another reason why New England's struggling. 1 punt inside the 20 out of 6. The field position has hurt them so bad because you're giving teams a much better advantage when you're just...
Let me circle that notation that I had about the punters. Eric, I've been on this for now 2 years. All right. You just take this particular game where Cincinnati punted 43.3 yards as an average. The Patriots were what, 39.6?
39.7, yeah.
Oh, 7.
Yeah.
That's, 5 yards every time, you say? When you keep giving up those 5 yards, that adds up. And when you have, 4 kicks, 5 kicks, and you're constantly getting a minus 5 yards on those kicks, the field position is heavily in the favor of the other team all the time. All the time. You can't keep playing that way, especially if your offense is anemic. And we keep talking about these things, and it's... when you look at one particular thing, it's a minor thing. Okay, so the Patriots won the turnover battle, but that one fumble, that's all it took, right? The punts, 5, 10 yards worse than the other person all the time. You're giving up those yards all the time. You can't get past the third down. Can't get past it.
Yep.
All these little things have ballooned into this big ball of hatred that is now becoming so big it's an avalanche of a snowball. You know what I'm saying? And when does it come time when Bob Kraft says, "Okay, that's enough"? You know, because we still don't know for sure if it was really Belichick that wanted to take Mac Jones or just the pressure from the front office.
Yeah. And
Because
this
I
could be,
don't think he wanted to.
yeah, and I could say this could possibly be the reason why he doesn't care who he has as an offensive coordinator, because he doesn't want this kid to succeed.
Maybe there's a lot of things that when you look at it, it just screams time for a change. Time for a change.
Well, your best special teams coach is Joe Judge, who's coaching the quarterbacks.
Right.
Right. So again, your best defensive minded coach is coaching your offense.
Yeah.
Like, none of this makes any sense. And then you're saying the coach that basically knows everything is not coaching anyone.
Right. Right.
So it's just going to be an interesting dynamic to see what happens this offseason.
You know, we talk a lot about the intangibles, right? A lot about these intangible things, like these little attention to details. Well, those attention to details aren't being attended to because the person that is supposed to be doing that is doing something completely different. What? I don't know, but he's not attention to details anymore.
I don't know if you remember back in 2014 when the Patriots beat the Seahawks. There was a guy in the front office. His name's Ernie Adams.
Yeah.
And Ernie Adams basically had called that play during practice and said, look, this is how they run this play. Those preparations, that piece, he's no longer with the Patriots.
Right.
That's where to me, it makes more sense to put Matt Patricia in that kind of role to say, look, study these guys, just study. Tell them what they do on offense, what they do defensively, and how we can have an advantage, because they need somebody like that.
Well, you want to take it a little further, that same play, who's the one that intercepted it?
Malcolm Butler.
And where did he go the very next season?
Tennessee.
Exactly. So there you see, like, it's almost like, okay, well, maybe this guy pointed something out, but did he show him up?
No, he stayed one more year.
Well, I'm just saying.
But he got benched in the Super Bowl in Philly against Philadelphia, and what it ended up doing, Philly threw for like 500 yards that game. But anyway,
right. But this is what I'm saying. It's like if somebody shows up, Belichick, even though they're doing their job,
it's ironic. Do your job.
It is all ironic, and it all comes full circle. But now all these things, they're all happening at one time now, and it never used to be like that.
Yeah. How many times can you say, we could probably count on one hand, you lose a game late, like under 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And a game you clearly should have won. That it's happened back-to-back weeks now.
Yeah.
So you not only did you lose to the Raiders, and we can question the mental preparation there and the decision-making of the players, but then it happens again the following week?
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Yeah, but back-to-back weeks. It's been like that all year. Minnesota.
Yeah. Another game.
I mean, like how many do we have to talk about? Well,
unreal. It's unreal. It's not pleasant right now to be a Patriot fan. I'll tell you that much.
No.
Ron, how we normally end the show is we discuss our 3 stars of the game. But let's talk real quick. Next week, Miami in New England. Your expectations on what should happen in that game. Do you now say it's better for them to lose to try to get a higher draft pick?
I think so.
Because they're kind of in that middle of the ground.
Because even if you win your last couple of games, even if you win them,
you need a lot of help now to get in play.
You need a ton of help, because you're 2 games in back of the playoff spot, right? So you have to have a lot of help. And frankly, I don't think it matters at this point.
So lose out and decide, next season maybe you get a top 10. Maybe you're in that top 10.
And a new coach.
So, Ron, your 3 stars of the game. Your number 3 star was?
My number 3 star was the duo of Bournes and Myers. No, not the law firm, but
That's
the
what I was gonna
receivers.
say. Yeah, okay.
Look, they each had 6 receptions and totaled 183 yards with 2 touchdowns. And Bourne also threw in his 29-yard rush.
Yeah.
Look, they weren't perfect, but that was their offense. Those 2 guys.
Agreed. I did go to Jacoby Myers as my 3rd star, and for those reasons you said. Again, been probably their most reliable receiver this season. I know he leads the team in reception, so
yeah,
definitely a guy Mac looks for in those difficult situations.
Yeah, you just put one all-star alongside of these 2 guys, and you got yourself a pretty good tandem.
Right? Absolutely.
You need that star.
You need that one guy. Number 2.
Number 2, I went with, who did I go with? I actually went with Judon. Look, I think he could have been better, but 5 tackles, a forced fumble, and a sack. Another sack. He doesn't seem like he's out of gas like he was last season.
Yeah, he seemed a little better this game.
Look, I can't blame. I don't think I blame him for their troubles in the first half. I think a lot of the other pieces weren't doing their job on defense, and I think that was more glaring.
Yeah, and if you think about this with Judon, I think how much has he helped Uche this season? The combination of the 2, they threw up that stat that they're the highest sack duo in the league this season, which is pretty good. I went Kendrick Bourne at 2.
Yeah, and you had the 2 receivers. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm telling you, play this guy more. Just please.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I think he's better than Myers. He's just not getting the playing time.
Yeah. And I think
not taking anything away from Myers. I think Myers is a good receiver as well.
And he's better than Devontae Parker, even when Devontae Parker wasn't hurt. I think he's a better receiver. Yeah. Your number 1, your top star in that.
My number 1 has to be Marcus Jones.
Agreed. Yes, I have the same one.
Like he almost was the best player on all 3 parts of it.
Yeah.
He had that big rush. No, not the rush. 15-yard reception.
Yeah.
If he had more playing time on offense, I think it would be even better. I think he's a dynamic player. I think he might be one of the best New England Patriots this season.
Yeah, and I think this year's draft class, Belichick did a pretty good job. I mean, we can sit back and question some of them, but again, Cole Strange has slowly grown into a solid offensive lineman, right? Taquan Thornton had the injury, so that kind of set him back. But Jack Jones, Marcus Jones, these guys they're contributors on this team.
That's the thing. Like, I've never questioned his ability to pick defensive players. Never questioned that.
It's always a wide receiver.
He's let go some players, and we've always questioned that, and he's filled that hole and filled it nicely. Linebackers, little different.
Yeah,
I think it's a little different, but that defensive line and that secondary, I think are Patriots' strong points right now, and hopefully we can keep them all intact and build on that linebacking crew.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see this offseason. I mean, we'll be doing some offseason stuff as well as our NFL preview show when that comes. But we're gonna have a playoff preview show as well.
Playoffs.
And just playoffs. You want it? You want to hear it? Is that what you wanted?
Yeah, we have to have it.
Let's see it. Let's see.
There's been a lot of discussion.
That's not it.
Backs and ankles.
That's Scott Boris. I changed it.
Nothing.
That's Scott Boris. That's from the last show. So check out Sports Unfolded every Friday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, only on Facebook YouTube, Twitch, and
You
Twitter.
know,
Yeah.
Rhode Island
And you haven't
Broadcast.
figured out how to shut it off, have
using
you?
their crystal
No, I
ball.
still haven't figured that part out yet. But I will say that we cover all of the top weekly sports stories that are going on. Obviously, we cover the NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, and then any of the top sports that are going on at the current week. So check that out, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Rhode Island Broadcasting, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. It's all live. It's fan interactive. We'd love to get you on there and participate because it just makes the show go so much better. But, Ron, I want to thank you for your time. Enjoy your holiday. Fans out there, I hope you have a very, very Merry Christmas and a safe holiday as well. And we get to do this all again next week with the Miami Dolphins. So are you checking your Christmas cards?
No, it's not Bill Belichick.
It was not. We were so
not
close.
Bill Belichick.
I thought we had it. I thought he would have come around. Ron, we will see you on Friday night, my friend. You take care.
All right. Happy holidays, everybody.